to the seven seas. But I ain't never seen that something. That's your eyes staring at me. Pick up my suitcase, head on down the road. And maybe when I come back by then, my love might have even sold. I said, I don't want no skinny woman. A woman who's got no sense of style. I want a girl with a diamond ring on her finger. One who knows how to say nothing. I just can't find this girl nowhere. Until I do, I'ma stay alone. If we can learn to love each other, then the truth will set you free. Oh, maybe pain and sorrow, there's no tomorrow. Will take a hold of me, baby, baby, baby. All alone, baby, won't you come along and hold me? I ain't the seventh son, but I know where I'm from. Let's head on, head on down the highway. And maybe when we come back, by then you will have seen things my way. I don't want no skinny woman. A woman who's got no.
Hey, how's everybody tonight?
Hey.
Hello.
Welcome in, everybody. Good to see
What
you.
is up, ladies and germs? How y'all doing?
That's insulting. What is your problem? Insulting people.
I say it with love.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We can
Oh,
hear.
yeah, welcome.
I am not feeling the love on that one. I've got to tell
Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Yeah, we are. It's episode 57 already. I put the music back on. Yeah, you can thank Greg for that. He does come up with some pretty solid beats.
Wow. Cool. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
His musical tastes are pretty good. But yeah, guys, I'm Rob. This is Matt and Greg, my co-hosts, and this is episode 57 of the update log. Could DC20 unseat D&D? And the question there is maybe. I guess I'm gonna be blunt though with you. I doubt it. And here's the thing, not because I don't think DC20 is good or DC20 is or it's any of that. It's just because D&D is, despite what we might think at times, despite some of the controversies that have been facing WotC over the last year and a half now, D&D is still D&D. It's always going to be here, I think. For it's been here for what, 40 years now, 50 years now actually, because they're celebrating their 50th anniversary.
Despite the disappointing, frustrating things that they do, yes.
Yes, despite all that, because of the community, and honestly, I mean, we've talked about that a number of times on the show. Community is what builds everything. Community is what builds games, movies, music, books. The people that enjoy the content, and there are millions, if not hundreds of millions of people who enjoy D&D. I'd even go so far to say it might be in the billions, but don't quote me on that. Of actual players of D&D, so it's not going anywhere, and nor should it. because at its core, D&D is a good system. Primarily because it's a a tool for storytelling. And that's actually where we're going to kind of start our discussion for tonight's episode. I'm going to be talking about a couple different topics. D&D is actually set to release its first book of the 2024 edition. There's going to be 3. It's going to be the Player's Handbook, which is coming out September either 17th or 19th. Then the next one is coming out November, I think 18th. And then so it's going to be the Player's Handbook, and then the Dungeon Master Guide is the one in November, and the Monster Manual, which will cap off the core book set for core rules set for the 2024 edition, will come out in February 2025. So, but everybody's been getting. There's been a number of folks out there. I mean, bunch of content creators are putting out videos on YouTube, but we have gotten some sneak peeks and some releases of their 2024 Player's Handbook. Most recently, I think it was a couple hours ago, they actually put out a sneak peek into the Fighter class for the Player's Handbook. So
have you gotten to be able to take a look at that?
I have not taken a look at the Fighter yet, friend. But there are a couple of things that I do definitely want to go into. Which is we're not going to go into everything because again, this stuff is getting like kind of pushed out in pieces, and obviously we're not seeing the whole thing. So we might be covering this for the next couple episodes because it's from what I've seen. It seems like WotC has really listened this time around because the stats, the percentages and the numbers coming out of the playtests have been very, very positive and well received, meaning, people are liking the changes that are coming out. I mean, Monk, for those of you who've been playing for any length of time, Monk and Ranger especially Monk, have always gotten shit on, but people are happy with what they're seeing of the new Monk and the Monk changes, the Ranger changes. But one of the first things I want to go into, for me personally, is weapon masteries.
Weapons that you master.
Yep. Weapon masteries.
I'm game. I like weapon mastery.
Okay.
So I don't look too much into this. Is this kind of like along the lines of like making weapons a little more unique from what they are in 5e? Like, yes. What is this about?
All right. So weapon masteries are essentially, well, first of all,
madness. Our old friend.
It's not new because again, a lot of this stuff is we homebrew in, and then some folks pick it up, and WotC has decided to pick this piece up, and it was actually introduced by Crit Academy a couple years back. And basically what it is, it's a kind of a perk system that allows you to add on a bit of an effect, a bit more oomph for your melee weapon should your character master it, which is really cool because let's face it, martials really kind of suck.
They're very simple.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to like the later levels, they definitely have to rely on picking the right subclass and feats. So it's
Oh, you mean to say that you can really fuck your character up if you don't?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I mean, I think it's easy to fuck up any character, no matter the class. Or you can play Monk and you're just fucked by default. But hopefully that's fixed. These changes with the Monk. That's class I've always been interested in.
And which class?
The Monk.
The Monk. Yeah. Well, the Monk. People are happy about the Monk. So I'd keep that in mind. So just to give you guys an example, and here's the thing: I don't think it was just Crit Academy that they got this idea from, but definitely probably one of the people that they got this idea from. But Baldur's Gate 3. For those of you who've played Baldur's Gate 3, we're gonna role play into this for a second. if you've ever, if you played the game, have noticed that the melee weapons come with skills attached to them. Kind of the same thing here in a way. To give you an example, so great axe. A great axe will have the cleave kind of. I guess I'm going to call it attack for now because I can't remember the proper jargon, or mastery, I guess, which will basically allow you to, have the cleaving property. Meaning you can basically, if you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can make a second attack against a creature within 5 feet of that. That is also within your reach. And keep in mind that stacks with reach. So meaning if you're using a halberd, which has an axe head, which has reach and cleave, boom, you're cleaving a bunch of people.
2 things within 10 feet. That's a pretty good combo, honestly. And
exactly.
I'm all for this system because I really enjoyed it in playing Baldur's Gate 3 when you had these special skills that were attached to your weapons, which meant that not only was it a little, it made each weapon more unique, it also gave marshals something else to do besides just the attack action. See, I think that's probably one of the most important things that needs to change for the marshals, to where they can do more than just attack. Because obviously spellcasters have all their different spells, cantrips, tons of options. Yep. Meanwhile, I've played a barbarian before, and it's which I enjoyed playing a barbarian in our D&D campaign, but it was mostly just attack. So it'd be fun to have just a little bit something extra that I could do besides just the attack action. Just attack with some spice,
Monks, for just a moment. Anybody that I grew up in my generation, you grew up with things like Bruce Lee series like Kung Fu, David Carradine, stuff like that. So monks definitely were, and when they first came out with Oriental Adventures, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with that or not, but basically an Orient version of D&D. Monks were always a fascination, but they never seemed to get it right when it comes to how do you actually put what you imagine a monk to be into the game. So yeah, I'm very interested to hear about that. But back to weapons and cleaving things, and I like that too.
But yeah, so that's just kind of one of them. And then so mauls, which are really, really cool. This is kind of something I'm looking forward to. So going back to the halberd as an example of having 2 different kind of stacking abilities within, or rather tags within reach and now cleave with this new weapon mastery. You take Polearm Master, that you could just stack all this fun stuff. But another cool weapon is and a cool tag is Topple. So with a maul, or which is I believe great hit, kind of as a great hammer, you can when you score a hit with the maul, you can make the creature do a Constitution saving throw or fall prone. That is absolutely game changing, because so for those of you who don't know, prone will allow you to crit if you hit with an attack, and you make attacks with advantage on any prone enemy. So take a fighter or paladin wading into battle with a great maul, and you have a rogue in your party, sneak attack, they get advantage, they'll get sneak attack, they'll get crits all day. So that I think is what marshals have been missing for a very, very long time now, is something to do other than just hit. Yeah. You're still hitting, yes, you're still swinging your weapon and hitting the enemy, but you get more to it. You get to affect the battlefield more than just dealing damage or relying on resources that you may or may not have access to anymore depending on how often your DM throws you into combat.
That's kind of where that has the melee combat piece. I hopefully up until now, but the melee combat piece has really become kind of anticlimactic. Really, I mean, you don't have the big hits that your mages do. You roll well with a spell and you're doing massive damage. You're really impacting the story. You have a fighter. I mean, you roll well and say get a critical hit, and then you roll your D8 damage plus whatever 2, 3, and your big hit is at max your big hit's 20 points of damage. And then the mage steps up and says, "Hold my beer," and launches off a fireball and roasts the whole field.
Yeah, well, I think one thing is that marshals are a lot more consistent than casters are, because casters have that limited resource of their spell slots, which I guess that's partly up to the DM, like how limited that is by how often they let their players take long rests. Because that was like if the DM is being a bit like sparing with the long rests, then the casters may not be able to constantly throw out these huge spells, while the marshals can do their regular damage, which is usually better than cantrips each turn. So like there is a balance there, though I think it's a balance that is partly maintained by how the DM runs the game there.
Some of the cantrips now can be pretty badass, though. I mean, especially
especially late game, you're not wrong about that. But for like early mid game, like where most campaigns are, like I shouldn't say early or mid game, but early mid levels, kind of. I'd say for the most part, martial attacks will deal better damage than cantrips, and that's mainly because of the damage modifier added to those martial attacks.
True.
We'll ignore
Blast.
Yeah, we'll ignore that one and take that one out of this conversation, because Eldritch Blast is just a nutty cantrip.
I mean, to be fair though, it has to be, because warlocks don't really get a lot in terms of spells, spell options, and spell slots. So it's part of that whole flavor. It has to be nutty, because it's kind of their fallback when they run out of spell slots. So
yeah, best cantrip in the game by far. It's just, it honestly is such a crazy cantrip.
I mean, so stupid. You could snipe people from 300 freaking feet away with Eldritch Spear. Jesus Christ! you can hit them before they ever hit you. Assuming you can see them.
Add damage modifier. Pretty much what can't Eldritch Blast do?
I don't know. Can't cook.
Awesome. Hey, FYI for everybody that is watching today, during the stream, if you take a clip of our stream today, we're gonna pick one. We're gonna pick one of those clips, and the person that we pick, the clip that we pick, that person gets a free sub to the channel. So definitely make some clips. Hey, it's one, man. It's one clip.
True.
One free sub. Not everybody gets a free. Yeah, but
I'm glad
you not everyone. He just said everyone.
No.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Lord Jesus, and glad you got over whatever it is you had to get done, man.
It is fantastic to feel as though you accomplish things.
Yeah. But I guess back to D&D and kind of what they got coming up, which
that's what we're talking about, D&D.
Like, yeah, I think, right?
Okay, all right.
Like, based on a lot of like kind of the changes I've been hearing lately, it sounds like people have been receiving quite well, which frankly that's exactly what Wizards of the Coast needs right now. because obviously their reputation hasn't been great ever since the OGL bit. So with this next like edition of D&D, they really need to like they need to win people back with this. And if they can do that, then good. Despite all the complaining we've done about Wizards of the Coast, we don't want them to fail. We want them to do better. Which, if they can make a better game, then that's exactly what we want.
We tend to complain about some of the awful things that are out there and created, but it really, every group. I mean, that's the reality of it. It's not that we want to see anybody fail. We want them to do better. We want them to, create stuff that we love to enjoy.
Because they have created stuff that we love and enjoy. Like,
absolutely.
Whether it's Wizards of the Coast, Blizzard, Ubisoft, they've all done great things in the past, which is why, which I guess is why we harp on them so much. Oh, hi, Harper.
Hey, welcome in, Harper.
It's because it's like, yeah, we remember when they were like, I guess how we consider like Larian right now. It's like, wow, these guys are great. They're knocking out of the park time and again. They can do no wrong until they did a lot of wrong.
Until they did wrong.
Yeah, but it's like we want to see these guys succeed. We know that they're capable of like great things, and we want them to get back to what made them into what they are today.
Right. Do some more of that. Great things. We like that. Great things. And don't try and nickel dime us to death.
Things. Yeah, that is that's a big thing right there. More prevalent in video gaming than TTRPGs, at least for now. I guess we'll see how Lotsie handles the VTT when that comes out.
Yeah, but one of the actual other so from what we're seeing, it's looking like all of these martial weapons, everything from the great axe to even daggers, are getting, some extra bit of flavor and extra, not just flavor, but mechanical option as well. Like the dagger has a nick, which is really good, especially for rogues. But so this is the dagger is an example weapon. This will actually be applied to any light weapon. So anyone dual wielding like short swords or daggers or I believe scimitars are light weapons. Basically, it still functions the same way. And then basically, when you make an attack with a weapon that has a light property, you can use a bonus action to make one attack with a different light weapon you're wielding. So essentially, it's kind of like you basically can dual wield. Essentially, you make that attack without necessarily having to use your bonus attack to make that attack. Now, yeah, you can use your bonus action, but what that does leave you, let's say, with your rogue, you still use your bonus action to make that attack, but you still have your cutting action open to still hide or disengage or whatever. So you can kind of still lean into that dual wielding, that kind of two weapon fighting kind of style without sacrificing the need to go hide or whatever.
So if I didn't take dual wield, but I was still two-hand fighting, which is also a skill, and I was a class that gets an extra attack, and since the two-hand fighting technically gives me an attack with each hand, so I now have 4 attacks. Then I take Horde Breaker, which gives me an additional attack if 2 enemies are within 5 feet of me and of each other. And then I could use my bonus action to take a 6th attack. I think one of my characters just became very much more powerful.
Maybe, depending.
I need to see this on paper.
Yeah, I need to see
these abilities lined out together on paper.
I would need to do math on that.
That sounds a little nutty. I guess we'd have to see.
It does. It does.
We'll have to see.
Hey, that's Sarah though. My tiefling.
That is Sarah. Yes.
It's turned into a blender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean she's already a blender. That's just a blender on high speed. But yeah, so again, all of the martials are getting a much needed quality of life look, and I am extremely happy for that. Matt, how about you take us into the next piece?
Uh,
Which is, well, there's a
just the
couple.
next piece. Are we gonna be talking a bit about DC20? Since
Um,
we're coming from D&D.
no, not yet, We're still on D&D.
Okay,
But
what parts?
let's look at the overall new rules.
I
Like
did watch some
heroic
stuff on it,
inspiration.
but I'm trying to remember. I did watch some stuff on it, but I'm drawing a bit of a blank on it. I think. God, I cannot remember this. I think you pay attention to those a lot more than I did. Like,
Okay. All right. So heroic inspiration is one of the new changes that they're making to. I will admit, an oft not used, or rather given, at least at our table. I don't think we've really used inspiration very much.
No, not
I don't
really.
think we've really used
You know,
it. And maybe that's on me
you,
as a DM.
Mr. DM.
Damn. Okay, shit. I was gonna use this spot. All right.
Way to throw him under the bus. I love it.
Be rewarded.
To be fair, I should have given you guys some inspiration for the whole ladders situation. I'm gonna probably go back and do that because that was pretty dope. So for those of you watching, these yahoos and some of our friends, Freybrand being one of them, Harper being another, they have a penchant for using ladders whenever they fight beholders, and for some reason it always ends up fucking working out. I don't know. They figured it out. They broke the system, guys.
Because you keep putting them out of range of our marshals by having them float up in the air. So it's like we need
That's
to
what they're
get
supposed to
them
do
and drag them down. And first time that happened, my character had a ladder with him. He carried that thing everywhere. Second one,
his character was
just
also
had a light. Yes, he needed that thing.
We're in a library, man. I mean, come on. There was a ladder on the map, so there you go. I couldn't believe that he tried to entice me to grab the battle axes. I'm like, I do more damage with these. I mean, why would I want to grab battle axes? I can just jump up there. That was initially what I was thinking. Is I'm just gonna run and like leverage myself, but then there's the ladder, so that made it a lot easier.
Look, I think the moral of the story is people sleep on ladders. You just pull off some WWE shit, okay? Set the ladder, have your best marshal climb that thing, and just dive bomb whatever's up there. That's the moral of the story right there.
But okay, so basically the way
it was better than the other idea, which was to start throwing fire inside the library. That wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, Uza probably wouldn't have appreciated that on her library, but neither would the Harpers actually. I think about it, but so inspiration again, it basically what it allows you to do, mechanically speaking, it allows you to spend an inspiration point to reroll pretty much anything, be it a save, an attack, a skill check, I believe even damage, but I could be wrong on that one. I can't remember off the top of my head. However, they've changed it to where now it's called heroic inspiration. Pretty much the same, but the key difference is if you couldn't roll damage before, now you can. Again, I can't remember if you could or not with the system as it is now. But with heroic, you can reroll miss, saving throw, skill check, and even damage if you wanted to. But the difference is with the current system, you have to declare it before you roll. So let's say you make your roll, but you've spent your inspiration point for basically nothing, which
Right.
no one liked, and pretty much most people homebrewed it where you can see if you make the roll so you can save your inspiration point. Now it's codified, it's in the rules. Now you can wait until you make your roll before you waste the inspiration, potentially waste the inspiration point, which honestly, again, everybody was homebrewing it in the way that I'm pretty sure it was intended to be.
That's the difference is between a board game and a story-based game. And that's in my mind, that's the difference right there. Is D&D, all RPGs, yes, started from board games, but they're not board games. They're story-based games. it's no matter if you're using a map or not, it's still theater of the mind. It's your imagination being put into action in this way. So when you create mechanics that are literally, you've got to declare this before you roll. Well, I don't even know what I'm going to roll. So why do I want to use this very special ability? And then I could turn around and roll a nat 20, and it's just I wasted it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. If it was more common, then I could understand like needing to say it before you actually do the roll. But because it's so rare, then it's like, I want to make sure I'm using it at a point where it'll be useful.
It's very frustrating when you actually burn it like that and you lose it just because, it's okay, that didn't make any sense at all. Completely, no benefit, nothing.
It's like, oh yeah, I would have succeeded anyway. I also this is a bit of a smaller thing, but I also think it's a good idea that they added heroic to the name, so it's not just inspiration, because I feel like from time to time, even at our own table, there is some confusion from time to time between bardic inspiration and inspiration. So adding that little bit of heroic there helps make it a little more clear that this is different kind of inspiration from what the bards do.
Hey, bards are pretty inspiring.
Bards are good. They can do a lot of really cool things. Great support characters.
I'm very happy with having a bard in the party. It doesn't really matter what the party is, but bard just brings something extra, especially for your melee combatants. So,
they got a lot they can do to. Again, they're definitely not about damage. They're about either supporting the team or debilitating the enemy team. They're just very useful. I think a lot of people sleep on them because they don't do damage, and it's not that flashy piece. But
the bards,
they're
bards
great,
are super
they're great
underrated.
strategic. They're great for the strategic part of combat. And also just because they got that jack of all trades means that they're really good outside of combat as well. They can do a lot of things pretty well.
You're not wrong, Fairman. You're not wrong. But unfortunately, that was our that was our rogue time.
Yeah.
Who I think might be mostly classed as a bard, but he is kind of a hoe.
Rogue Bard multiclass sounds like the most horny
Ho Bard multiclass Harper.
The entire world.
Yeah.
Harper, don't forget the Harper.
Yeah,
piece.
He's a Harper too. Yeah, so he's
so. Oh my goodness! Just lock away your loved ones. Keep them far away from this man.
Maybe there was a reason I didn't like Harpers. All right, so
I feel like they'd be the one.
We're completely derailing here, Rob.
It's all right. It's okay. Sorry, we're getting back on track.
Okay.
So the next piece, and this is another, and here's the thing. This is why I think WotC is on the right track with the 2024 edition. In terms of the content that we're getting, is because they really listen to the community from all the numbers we're seeing, especially in that they've looked at homebrew practices that a lot of people have been doing, namely homebrewing, downing a potion, like a healing potion, as a bonus action. I know a lot of tables do that. I think we do it. I can't remember. A lot of you, and I'm looking at you two, don't really buy healing potions for whatever fucking reason. Maybe I need to start hitting you harder. I don't know. But
I've been spending my money on other shit.
Okay, because your life is important.
I don't know how much harder
I spend my money on armor. Armor is expensive, all right.
And I think any healer in our group will tell you that I'm probably one of the healing sponges in the group. So I don't know how much harder you want to hit.
And you're not even a barbarian.
Nope, he's not even a barbarian. But okay, so basically, now it's codified. It is in the rule set. Downing a potion will count as a bonus action instead of previously it was counted as an action, a full action. So now you get to do a bit more on your turn. You don't have to choose whether, well, shit, am I going to heal or am I going to attack? You know, especially at the early stages of gameplay, and especially if you're not a martial. You know, most martial classes at level 5, sometimes 6, I believe, for the bard. I think it's level 6 for the bard. I think get an extra attack feature. And then fighters, the only one that gets a third extra attack feature at level 11 or 17. One of the two.
I think it's 17. It takes
17,
a while to get that third attack, yeah.
Third attack, okay, yeah,
I
17.
thought they got a third attack around 11, then they get a fourth one at like 17 or 19.
You
I may be remembering wrong. I may be remembering.
Right, I don't know. But I know they get at least 3 attacks in their whole repertoire, at least, if not 4. But anyway,
if you make it that far, I mean,
yeah, if you make it that far, that's another thing. Yeah, you don't really make it that far in D&D with most tables.
That's the thing. Well, okay, fighters, in which I mean, I'm okay with. I have a fighter, but
he does. Yeah,
you know, they get pretty tough. I'm not gonna say really tough, but they get pretty tough pretty quick. But then late game, they kind of suck. I mean, most of the other classes outpace them as far as what their capabilities are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like grossly outpace them too, and it's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm. So they're fun up front, and they actually, you know, they get pretty tough pretty quick in the game, and you can play for a long time with that and feel as though you're, you know, a contributor in the party. But then you get up to like level 12, and suddenly, you know, your mages and your whatever else you have, your rogues. Rogues are actually, I think, a little underpowered too at this point, but they start to outpace you like drastically. So
yeah, but you know, in regards to like being able to use like potions and stuff as your bonus action, you know, that's actually another thing that you could do in Baldur's Gate 3. It makes me wonder, because a lot of the stuff like we're talking about that's going to be in the next D&D is a lot of stuff we've seen in Baldur's Gate 3 in some shape or form. You know, it makes me wonder that, you know, are they taking from the stuff Baldur's Gate 3 did, or were the folks at Larian obviously in contact with folks at WotC, and did they kind of like know some of what they were planning ahead of time?
I think the latter is the answer in that, and that's simply because I mean, that's Larian doesn't own the IP, so I mean they had to create the game according to the specifications of WotC. It's not like they, you know, they're not just gonna throw a bunch of stuff in there and completely because of the IP ownership. I mean, there were some controls in place. They couldn't just create whatever they want without input from Wizards.
Yes, I mean, I imagine they had some level of creative freedom to change things up, especially since, you know, they're changing things from a, you know, tabletop to a, you know, virtual, you know, even if it's a CRPG, it's still a, you know, video game. There's some changes that need to happen for that. But
it's a really good video game, but yeah.
Fantastic video game.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting seeing the similarities.
So a lot of the rules that are going to be coming down, because again, those are just a couple of the new ones that they're putting out with regards to some changes to core mechanics and gameplay, weapons, but a lot of them are going to be coming out in terms of classes, and how those are going to interact and work. I know they're coming out with 3 new subclasses, I believe, for Barbarian, Druid, and I believe the Fighter.
Ooh.
But I could be wrong. Let me see real quick.
I do like subclasses. I would like to see some new, like,
okay, nope, it's Barbarian. Yeah, it's Barbarian, Druid, and Bard. So Bard is getting some love. But those are kind of where we see the most of the changes, the most of the significant ones. They, like I said earlier today, I think maybe 4 or 5 hours ago, they dropped the fighter subclass, or look at the fighter subclass on their YouTube channel. But we're going to be going over those as they get released. So again, we're probably going to be touching on the 2024 books over the next couple episodes, probably, especially as it gets closer to the release of the 2024 handbook. Um, but one of the next features that they've got out there that's really, really cool is going to be your background and feats. So they kind of changed it up a bit. Before we just had feats, just regular feats that you could take at character creation. I know a lot of tables did like a free feat at level 1, even if you didn't go with things like variant human or custom lineage, which those give you free feats, and those were by and large the most picked race as anything else by and large, because again, optimal. And who doesn't want to start with a free feat, especially when you have some busted ass feats like Wild Spacer, which is a background that gives you the tough feat for free. So if you take the Wild Spacer background and variant human or custom lineage, you get 2 feats at level 1.
Just a little.
Pretty can get pretty crazy. I know a lot of folks don't like Wild Spacer because it gives you the tough feat. It can be a little busted, but look, the only thing I'm saying is if I'm a wizard, if I'm a wizard, I get a D6 in health, man. Hell yeah, I'm taking tough.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing: the feat that comes with backgrounds are always like more like it's never really something to be used in combat. It's always more utility, outside of combat. So a background that gives a combat focused feat is pretty crazy, especially something as good as tough that just gives you a bunch more HP, especially as you level up. That's insane, honestly.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is. It gives you double health. I think by the end of it, you're gonna be sitting at like 30 something, like 36 extra health or something like that, or 40, something like that.
Something. If I recall, doesn't that just give you like +1 health per level up? Or I think it's something like that. Which over time that does add up to be quite a lot of extra. 2?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
It's like an extra like 40 health or some shit like that. So what they did with feats now is in the 2024 handbook is they split them up into three different categories. You have feats, regular feats, you have epic feats, and then you have origin feats. So origin feats are, I mean, is exactly what it sounds like. They're going to be tied to the character creation process. So they basically took kind of that homebrew that a lot of people are doing and just giving away a feat at level 1 and just baked it into the game. So you're going to get, everybody is going to get feat at level 1. And they're basically going to be tied into the new backgrounds that they have coming out. But you can't take any feat that you want. So things like Wild Spacer or rather Tough, and probably some of the really, really good ones aren't going to be in the section for origin feats, which
that's
fine. It can be a bit limiting, and I think a lot of people might have some issue with that, but I understand from a balancing perspective why they did it. Because yeah, you got your min-maxers and the people who want to be super strong right out of the gate who are going to be a little miffed about that. But you know what? You know what I have to say to that? Get good. Get good, scrub.
I mean, and this is us saying without even really seeing what types of feats is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't seen.
It's just kind of us speculating what types of feats are going to be there, which I imagine. I mean, I imagine you're somewhere in the right ballpark. It's probably going to be somewhat less impactful stuff than what you find in the other types of feats. Especially epic feats, those by their name definitely going to be very impactful. But
yeah, I'm sure they're still going to be interesting, mind you.
Yeah, I'm fine with those being weaker because it's also like it's character creation, like level 1 character. You're not going to have insane shit at level 1. You're not supposed to, at least.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not.
You gotta work towards getting the insane shit later on. However, you get those epic feats later on.
Mm-hmm. All right. What else do we have here? Let me look at my little.
We don't have anything else to cover for D&D. brand new player's handbook?
Well, it's not out yet. They've at least, I guess, like sneak peeks essentially.
Yeah.
Well, definitely looking forward to seeing what it. Hopefully it doesn't end up being disappointing. And that's the thing is, the playtest, the reviews, stuff like that. I mean, we've seen this before where there's awesome reviews on this new product coming out, and then the product actually comes out and people get it in their hands, and it's this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
But yeah, Anole Pond, everyone will start level 3 moving forward, as all subclasses start level 3 pro classes now. Interesting.
Huh.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate change. I absolutely hate, and you know this because we've been through this before.
Yeah, we have, and I'm not a huge fan of that.
Like, I can see why they may want that, because especially for like,
I don't want the
say
ladder.
You're a new player, never played D&D before, and you're picking something like Warlock or Cleric, like one of those. One of the classes that you pick your subclass at creation. I can see that being a little hard for them to try to decide when they don't even know, like, how's this played? Like, because for other classes, when, you pick your subclass at level 3, they get, there's 2 levels to be able to play their character, see what it's like, and give them time to be able to look at the other subclasses, like, okay, this is the kind of the way I want to play based on how I've been playing so far.
Mm-hmm.
This is the subclass I want to take. Give them time to make that decision. Because otherwise, they're making a huge decision at the get-go before they even really have a chance to try anything. So I can see a lot of new players being daunted by that, and that's probably why they made that change.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, and as Helicon says, and the level 1 dip builds for the most part, like multi-classing, I think you're talking about, like just taking one level of this and just get a bunch of stuff.
Exactly.
So, so I definitely get why. It makes it a little harder. I mean, from a story perspective, I guess it's a little odd to be like, yeah, I'm a cleric. Oh, of what?
So to give you guys some
I'm
numbers,
a cleric of whatever it happens to be.
I'm the cleric of whatever, man.
You got
Whatever you want me to be cleric of.
You got it.
So I'm getting my powers from something. I ain't decided what though.
Right? Yeah. To give you guys a couple of numbers here, it was what? Spelljammer, I think, came out, and it only had 2 spells. Sorry, it had 8 spells, I believe, and 2 feats. One which you couldn't really use unless you were actually in the Spelljammer, setting. But this new book, the new Player's Handbook, is coming out with 75 feats and 400, I believe, new spells. Somewhere up.
Quite a lot. That's a list.
So they're coming out. They're putting out some good stuff, and they're putting out content, not crap. And again, I don't want to be disrespectful or mean spirited or anything like that, but come on, guys. 8 spells and 2 feats. One which you can't. I mean, you.
Well, what's
the
difference though? I mean, okay, there are 8 spells, 2 feats, but there are 8 spells, 2 feats that you didn't have before. So they're new content, and they're probably specific to like Spelljammer. I mean, they're specific to that story, right? So are the 400 spells in the Player's Handbook new, or are they just regurgitation of the existing plethora of spells that are already out there?
I think we will have to see. It could be. I'm. Here's the thing, Greg. I see where you're going, and I kind of, to a degree, agree with you. In that it's probably going to be a rehashing of spells and feats that we've seen. Obviously, there'll probably be some new ones.
Yeah,
but and when I mean rehashing, they're probably going to be retooled for the new rules and systems.
Right.
So will it be similar spells, or for the most part, yeah, but they're going to be now in line with the new systems and rules that they're putting out. The one thing, and this is kind of the one strike against the new stuff coming out of WotC, the Player's Handbook and stuff. They're really pushing the pre-order piece, which I don't think anyone has ever really done. Well, no, they have. Yeah, they have.
I think everybody's pushing the pre-order piece right now, though. That's
They have. Because I mean, we just did, the Cyberpunk. Let me put a pin on that one. That video has yet to come out. We're gonna have to put that out at a later date. So we're gonna move on. But yes, there are people doing pre-order stuff, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, only because you don't get anything for it. At least from my perspective. You don't like most pre-orders, they come with extra bits, extra bells and whistles, extra stuff. The pre-order for this new Player's Handbook, pretty sure you don't get anything. So I think they're asking for a little much. They're asking for a lot of faith, which I'm sorry they haven't really fucking garnered over the last year and a half.
Well, not with us, but I'm sure there have been plenty of people who have pre-ordered that.
I mean, yeah.
Well, are you talking about pre-order, or are you talking about something like a Kickstarter?
No, because pre-order. Full pre-order.
Okay. Well, and you're right. I mean, usually there's something extra when you pre-order the product, but not always. But
I mean, either way, I'm not a huge fan of pre-ordering. Like, if it were a physical thing that you knew was going to be limited, I would say in that case, there's an argument for pre-ordering to try to secure you that physical copy. But if it's digital, there's really no reason to pre-order, because that's not limited in stock. Like, they could sell millions and you'd still be able to download yours. The only thing you're doing is giving them your money before you even really know what this thing's about. Like, that's why, like, I've only ever done like one pre-order in my life, and that was actually Skyrim back when that came out a long ass time ago, which was a good game. But like I don't want to buy things before I know it's good, so I even often wait like well after launch for games, so I can see see the reviews, see YouTubers or Twitch streamers play it, get their word on it. Like, is this thing good? If yes, and it's what I was expecting or more, then then I'll give my money. But like, I'm not chomping at the bit to play. I'm not chomping at the bit to play, this new D&D that bad to where I'm going to give them my money before I even know it's going to be good.
It's purely market based, and that's the you're not an early adopter. That's really what it comes down to. And only about 10% of the market is actually the early adopters, and those are the people that you're targeting. I hate to put it that way, it sounds negative, but those are the people that you're aiming your advertising and everything at, is the early adopters. So the ones that are out there really waiting for this product to make sure that they have their copy and that they're getting their product. They just want to get it taken care of. I know I want this, so I'm going to go ahead and pre-order it. That way it's going to show up when it shows up, and I got it. I don't have to, worry about it at that point. You're right, when it comes to digital product, there's not a lot of real worry in there, but I mean, you are locking it in at a particular price, and you're getting your copy taken care of right up front. And about 10% of the market are those folks that they're early adopters. They're gonna try it because they want it now. I want to know that it's mine, even though I can't have it right this minute. It's paid for. As soon as it's released, I'm gonna get my copy. And that's okay. It's a smaller portion of the market that's that way. The larger portion, so your 70%, your bulk of the market, are the people who are going to wait for it to come out. Maybe a little bit of time. They might do some reviews and this and that. They're probably already going to have the review piece because of the early adopters. That'll come really quickly, where they'll be able to get that view of it. And then you have your late stage buyers, which are the people that, probably don't even have a clue what's going on. They've never heard of, everybody's heard of D&D. I'm probably not everybody. I'm sure there's somebody living under a rock somewhere who hasn't heard of it. But they've never played. They probably never, never watched the cartoon or movie or read a book or whatever about it. And they're the late stage folks. They maybe at some point in their life are going to get introduced to this concept of creating story from your own imagination, and being able to use your imagination to run that character as a game. And those are the late stage people that are going to go buy the product. The thing with D&D is you have such a large amount and such a library of products that are out there that the new stuff is fantastic, but each iteration of the game is almost like a game within itself. You have people out there who only play second edition, or only play third edition, or only play what I mean. That's what they play. They don't like any of the others. Even like Cyberpunk. I mean, you have people out there who only play 2020. They absolutely, they don't want anything to do with Red or any of the new iterations of it. They may buy it just so they can get the ideas and maybe blend some of that stuff into their campaign. But you have those people. Eventually, someday, there'll be a late stage adopter, and they'll say, "Oh, once we're a couple iterations down the road, so we get past this one, they may go out and buy a copy of 5e." Be like, okay, well, I suppose it's time to upgrade now. I'll go to 5e. So that happens. 4th edition, yeah. Hopefully, they don't decide to go to 4th edition. Anyway,
4th edition. That was a rough one. But yeah, so that's kind of the only negative I see here in this whole piece. And Unholy Pawn, man, you're right. Like, and we're actually going to be talking about DC20 right now, because they're currently in the middle of their Kickstarter. They've raised, last time I checked, was like 1.5 million. They have 14,000 plus backers, tons of coverage from everybody from Bob the World Builder to D&D Shorts to D4 Deep Dive, all those guys I follow, by the way. Great group of folks. Treant Monk, yeah, everyone's talking about it, and they should be, because the Dungeon Coach did a really good job of blending the best of essentially two systems, which was Pathfinder and 5th edition. So and obviously he did his own thing. Hey, what's up, Insomnia Night, man? How you doing, buddy? Welcome, man. We're doing all right. We're just talking about some TTRPG stuff, some of the new chatter about the 2024 Player's Handbook for D&D.
It's a rare occasion that we're being positive about WotC.
It is. It really is.
And Dungeons and Dragons.
It feels good. It feels good, though. I ain't gonna lie. It feels good.
Look,
it's just kind of a bad taste in the back of my throat.
you don't like
it. It just means that we aren't out there purely to hate. Like, we'll criticize the shit that they do, but we do want to praise when they do good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're here to do.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Share some stories.
Yeah, but moving on to the DC20, like, it is honestly, like, it's going pretty well. Like, I've got the Kickstarter page up right now. I believe this launched only like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's like the 4th or 5th.
Yeah, it's up to like 1.6 million. When its original goal was like 20,000. Nearly 1,500 backers, and still got 12 days to go. Like,
yeah, it's doing really well, man.
It's getting a lot of support. It really is,
and rightfully so, because he's been working on this for years, and I've been part of his Discord, I'd say, for about half a year now, and I've been watching his stuff for about as long. There you go. See, we got one of his backers in here now. He's been putting in a lot of work, and again, the support is rightfully deserved. I mean, I even use some of his rules and kind of homebrew stuff in our game. So just goes to show you. But yeah, we're gonna get to that in a second. But yeah, Unholy Pawn. I think you're right. WotC is very much worried in that they should be, because all these systems coming out, DC20, MCDM, which was created by Matt Colville, who was the OG grandfather of D&D videos on YouTube. Like, he was one of the first guys doing it. He came out with his own system, and then kind of all the other stuff coming out, like Daggerheart coming out of Darrington Press, which is Critical Role's new system, which I've seen. I haven't played yet. We haven't played it. We do have some of the playtest material. I've seen some mixed reviews, positive and negative, but the last time I checked, they had done a bit of updating and reworking that the community seemed to like. So maybe we'll have an episode on that at some point. I'm gonna have to look a little bit deeper in their stuff though. But yeah, WotC is definitely worried, and which is good. You want to know why it's good? Because when they're worried, they start doing shit like they're doing with the Player's Handbook, which is getting some pretty solid reviews so far. And I'm sorry, if you're not worried as a company, either you don't care or your competition ain't doing shit, which is not good for anybody. I'm going to be honest with you.
But definitely not good for the consumer when you have one group that dominates the market. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Free market is exactly what we need working in this space, and it is right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad the pushback happened with the OGL, and I'm glad we won that pushback, because then we wouldn't be where we're at now. Third-party content creators for D&D content are still able to make a living and still able to build their studios and build their games off of that. But also you have guys like, the Dungeon Coach, Matt Colville coming out with DC20 and MCDM, and you have other, Daggerheart, you have all these other things coming out that can really kind of put the screws to WotC in a good way. At least I mean it in a good way, for them to really get off their fucking ass and start listening to the community and to start producing good, valuable content. So that's my soapbox spiel. Now let's get into Dungeon Coach's DC20. And if Matt, you or Greg can drop the Kickstarter link either in our info links on our Discord. By the way, if you're not joined with our Discord, please join. That's where you can kind of stay up to date with us, talk with us directly, interact with the community, stuff like that. Yeah, Greg just dropped the link to his to the DC20 Kickstarter. I think, was that you? No, that was a different channel. Sorry, I have so many damn channels pinging. I thought that was you. Yeah, if one of you guys could drop it in the Twitch chat or on our Discord, or both. Fuck it, just drop it in both. But yeah, I mean, I highly recommend you guys go support them. But let's jump into the DC20. So Matt, did you dig into this one or no?
I've dug into it some. Obviously, what I watched was like a bit of an update, so I kind of like roughly know like what it's going to be looking like. I think you've looked into the system overall a lot more than I have. But I do know that like DC20, like as a game, is very much like Dungeon Coach's. This is his like, I wish D&D were more like this.
Oh yeah.
This is him taking what is in D&D and essentially, I'd say quote unquote fixing it. Rules that he doesn't like changing, and that's what it is. I think he's kind of, at this point, he was kind of like, it started off as like this patching together of D&D and Pathfinder, and as he's going on, kind of making a few things his own, from the space that combines those two systems in a lot of ways to doing some things that neither of them do.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. Like he did definitely take a bit from a couple of different systems, primarily from D&D. But he took a bit from Pathfinder, which is an offshoot. For those of you who don't know, Pathfinder is an offshoot of the 3.5 version of D&D back in 2000. I want to say 2003 to 2006. Somewhere around there. That's kind of when Pathfinder found its legs.
Yeah, which there's nothing wrong with like kind of taking reference or taking pieces from other systems as long as it's not like a straight copy paste,
Yeah,
but,
no.
Change a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But like, using other things for reference to kind of guide your creative process. Because I mean, I'll tell you now, I do that quite a lot when I'm designing pieces for our game. I reference, I reference everything. Like I reference D&D. Mainly those two I reference a lot, but I do look outside from time to time when I'm a little stumped on a particular how it should work and stuff. I mean, that's part of the creative process. Take what's out there, use it for inspiration, and make it your own.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what he's doing with this.
Yep. Every creative draw, you draw your inspiration from somewhere. I completely agree with that. I mean, and right now there's such a wealth of material out there to draw inspiration from. And the unfortunate part is that D&D just so happens that they've invited a lot of this upon themselves, because yes, there are a lot of creators out there that are creating their own versions of essentially Dungeons and Dragons, whether that's to fix the issues or solve the problems or whatever it happens to be. It is what it is. And there's a few that I think have potential for, over the long term, becoming a serious competitor for Dungeons and Dragons. We'll see what happens, but I guarantee you, if the situation continues to go the way it has been going, WotC will continue to lose market share. Absolutely. Yep. Now, does that mean it'll ever fall to not being the top RPG? I don't know, but it'll definitely continue to fall from the pedestal it is on now, and I'm completely fine with that. I think there's a huge market out there. And when you have one game such as D&D that controls a large chunk, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars worth of sales, there's a lot of opportunity for other games to grow into that space. And it's not like that particular game is gonna when you have smaller studios that are profitable on $2, $3, $5 billion worth of sales and doing well for themselves, it tells you that this one game that's doing 100+ million in sales, they don't need to do that to continue to survive. And I'm not not saying that they should share their profits or anything like that. That's absolutely not. But don't worry about killing off that game. That's not going to happen. They're big enough that's hate to sound like too big to fail, but the thing with D&D is it's going to continue to be what it is going into the future. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of opportunity out there for new creators to create something. Thing is you got to create something that people want. You got to create something that people like. I think DC20. I think he's done a really good job with that, because he's taken his own experience, the experience of his players and of his audience, and the feedback that has come from them, and he's made the modifications and the changes necessary to fill the hole that his community has identified. Said, hey, we don't like this. So he's taken that piece and modified it and changed it so that, hey, if you don't like that, how about this? That's the way to do it right there.
Yep. And one of the big things from me that I've seen from his system. So again, we're going to be covering kind of these systems a little bit for the next couple episodes when we do talk about TTRPGs, because there's a lot to unpack. And again, we don't have all the things out there yet. It's still in Kickstarter. It's still being updated. I believe it's at version 0.7, I believe, right now. I think it's the latest update.
Yeah, I think that's as far as he's got at the moment.
And the big thing for me is how he handles. Well, first of all, it's the marshals. Now, the marshals in the DC20 system, and I don't know if WotC probably had an ear out for this, or if there was multiple people talking about this and they just took it from, they kind of picked it up and ran with it. But the whole. I mean, we covered it earlier with the weapons having more to do, like the martial weapons having more to do in terms of just bonking people on the head. DC20's weapon system carries that as well. It carries passives that'll give you extra bonuses and effects and things for your martial character to do, as opposed to just stabbing or slapping someone with your weapon, which is great because, again, as we talked about before, martials really, aside from just stabbing people, they really don't got much to do on the battlefield, as opposed to like spellcasters or like gishes, which are kind of martial spellcaster hybrids. So yeah, let's see. Unholy Pun says WotC is really missing the point, though. They need to bring back the nostalgic settings and focus on lore, not so much the rules, because you could play Daggerheart or DC20, but want to play in Dark Sun. Yeah, I agree. I think I honestly I do agree with you, Unholy Pawn, in that the 2024 rule set, basic rule set, meaning the player's handbook, the Dungeon Master Guide, and the Monster Manual, if they get that solid, the next thing they need to do is go back and either create new settings, or, as you just said, bring back older settings. Go back as far as they first of all legally can, because I believe second edition. Do they own the rights to that?
No, there's a lot of copyright issues over the year.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of copyright issues because Anyway, so there's a lot of product that they're not going to be able to reproduce because they don't own the copyright to it. A right of usage, but not a copyright to it, and that's well, the Gygax family owns quite a bit of the early stuff yet, so
which I mean they should. Again, Gary Gygax was one of the creators of it, and
it would be nice to see
collaboration.
It would be nice to see some collaboration between not just the family, Luke Gygax in the family, but also the Gygax Family Trust is actually partnered with Trollord Games for reprinting a lot of the older product. It would be nice to see some collaboration to maybe even take some of that older product and modify it up to being able to be used in the current version. And I'm sure there's some people out there that would love to roast me alive for saying something like that, but
Probably.
it would be nice to see some of those things happen and share that. There's some really, really, really awesome product that was created early on in the TSR days, Gary and crew, that would be phenomenal to take that and modify it, bring it up to the current version, whether that's 5e or the next version, and be able to re-release it to the folks who play those versions of the game. I think that'd be an awesome idea, but that's just me.
Oh no, I agree. I honestly agree. But yeah, so weapon passes, as I believe they're called, DC20. One of the other things that I'm super, super excited to see is the spellcasting pieces. Where, and again, I'll have to do a little bit more digging into this, but there's a lot of material to go through. But the broad strokes is that spellcasters now can counter other spellcasters at any. You don't believe you don't even have to take like a counter spell. Like you can just. It's baked innately into the spellcasting system where you can counter another spellcaster, and two spellcasters can basically combine their powers into interesting ways for new spell effects. So
there's some elements.
That shit was cool.
There's some elements with the spellcasters that I do really like, and that's the division of how the powers are driven. Like your mages versus your sorcerers, where the sorcerer is more of a primal use of magic.
Innate spellcasting, yeah.
Right, where the wizard is more like mana driven. You know what I mean? Study and you have to rest and those things. And I think D&D definitely went away from that. There was a point in second edition. There was a point where it seemed like they were trying to turn more towards that, to have that division, and that just never took hold. So DC20 has done a really, sounds like, I haven't actually used that, but it sounds like they've done a really phenomenal job with that. And they've gone, tried to make it more of a primal sense, but stepped away from the whole blood magic concept. Which, I mean, if you're into that, you could still use that from the earlier versions, but
blood magic goes hard, man.
Yep. And here's the thing. One of the
I would
pieces,
never.
Yeah, you would. One of the pieces, one of the other really critical pieces of the system in DC20 is combat-wise. First of all, you get four action points to do with whatever you want. And the cool thing about that is you can move, you can attack multiple times, or you can take reactions. But here's the thing: the reactions and attacks and stuff like that, though, like the actions, as far as I know, and again, for those of you who know a bit more and have done, playtested, as you can correct me, but I believe the reactions and actions, so like attacking and reacting, can happen when it's not on your turn, as long as you have the action points to do it. Meaning combat is very more dynamic, and kind of not necessarily just reactive, but proactive as well. Like if you know that so and so is going to be doing something to set up, something that might benefit you, or vice versa, you could hold an action and wait till they go, and then go when they go. It's really cool, and I know it sounds complicated, and I'm probably not giving it the best representation possible, but that's really dope. The fact that you can take a reaction or attack action on somebody else's turn to really affect the flow and the effects of the fight. And this counts as spells too. Any action. That's really cool. And then another piece, I believe it's go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, like that. It's definitely an interesting idea, and like leads us up to a very fluid combat. My hope, because we haven't seen this played out yet, is that like I hope turn things into a mess when everyone is wanting to like essentially change up when they do their actions. All of a sudden, this person wants to do, because they still have like an initiative order, but suddenly it's like, well, I'm going to do this thing here, and the other person goes, well, I'm going to do this thing here. So you have this like weird cue. Like, again, we'd have to see it play out, because like in my head, I could potentially see it becoming like a bit of a mess, but hopefully not, because if it's able to work fluidly and seamlessly, then that could be potentially very cool. I also have like a similar worry about the innate counterspelling, because depending on how that works, players could very easily shut down like a very strong enemy mage, or even worse, vice versa, where one of your players could be easily shut down because someone else is counterspelling him all the time. There are ways that these things could possibly go wrong, and that's why I'm interested to see it in play. Like, are they taking these concepts and doing them well, so that they don't cause a mess of things? Because the potential is there, but the potential is also there for it to be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. There's possibilities. It's definitely, especially because it's going to be a new dynamic of play. I think a lot of people are gonna. It's going to be an adjustment period for that. Another thing, the multi-classing piece for me, that's really that I find really cool. So similar to D&D, there's multi-classing in here. I don't believe there is minimum scores, and I'll actually get to the stats here in a second, because there's only 4. I'll have to look them. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's not a lot, and he does them a bit differently. We'll get to that in a minute. But the
It's a
multi-classing
whole lot
piece,
more simple than Dungeons and Dragons.
so much more simple. So much more simple. But the multi-classing piece, I like the way he does it. Yes, you can multi-class, and you can multi-class any which way. There's, as far as I'm aware, there is no stat requirement for it. And here's the thing: you know how in D&D, whenever you multi-class into a different class, you get a ton of shit that you probably, number one, don't need. Number two, might very well overlap, so it's a waste.
Mm-hmm.
And with DC20, you can pick what you want to take, pretty much from any of the stuff. And granted, it's broken down into various categories, but you have access to whatever it is you want to pull from that other class.
That's one thing that I actually really do like about this system, and you guys know this. I push this all the time. You know, the customization and making sure that your player doesn't have to try to create a god character. Make sure they have options and they have the capability of being able to, within the system, build a version of the character that they want to build. And that's hugely important, and it's definitely it's something that's maybe the new version for D&D is going to have it. Maybe we'll see. There's a common theme here, if you notice, between DC20 and D&D. What is the focus? The focus is on character classes more than anything else. The focus, the new product from both companies, is classes.
Yeah, that is true, and well, because people want they want that class identity, because aside from their race or origin, because that's another thing that WotC did change. They changed up everything. It does not race anymore; it's species, but we're not going to get into that. That's kind of semantics in my opinion. It all amounts to it all amounts to the same shit. But aside from the origin, the race, the other identifying factor of any character in any system, DC20 or even D&D, is going to be your class. So I mean, yeah, the attention should, I would say, at least half of it should definitely be on the class, because those you need to get right. But as Unholy Pawn said, you can actually be a caster that uses body, which is basically your physical stat, as your main casting stat. And Unholy Pawn, since again you seem to know a bit more about the DC20 system than I do off the top of my head, what are the 4 stats that he goes into? I know it's body. I think will is one of them. I can't remember the other 2. But yes, going off, kind of piggybacking off of what Oli Pond said. Yes, Matt, you can create your barbarian spellcaster that uses his muscles to cast his spells. Yes, trust me, there are so many memes out there already about Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist and freaking
beautiful.
Yeah, and Mash from the anime Mash Burn Dead or whatever the fuck it's called, the stupid anime. Yeah, Mashal. There we go. That's what it's called.
Physical wizard. Yes.
Yeah, you can be a physical wizard. It's just you flex and you shoot magic out of shoot lightning out of your nipples.
Oh, that brings entirely new meaning to Buns of Steel.
Yep. yeah. You can. Yep, and you can be an intelligence fighter. You can be a bard that doesn't use charisma. He uses his intellect or his sheer manliness or her curves or whatever, uses.
I want to be a bard that uses my constitution.
Yeah.
How do you play that?
I don't know. I don't know. You're just a specimen of an individual. Okay, so my agility, intelligence, and charisma. Okay, I think you're right. Okay. So no constitution.
I imagine that would probably be included in the might.
Yeah.
So I guess it's interesting that it sounds like you could use pretty much any stat as just about any class.
Yes.
It's interesting, but also makes me wonder, if that's the case, then what makes each stat that special? Because you could be a fighter, but what
So as
what
far
does
as
each stat matter?
I have a question.
If you can do any of those that you want.
I got a question as an answer for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Doesn't matter.
Well, DC20.
Honestly, I don't think it matters. I really don't. I think if you look at the traditional structure, okay, D&D being the hallmark, you look at the traditional structure and what was built there, and that has had tremendous influence and impact across the market. The OGL was the the what fertilizer, I guess you could say, for a whole large chunk of the whole gaming industry, and so people using the OGL used that system to create their material off of the mechanics piece, because that's what that's all about. So we ended up in this space where we feel as though having these 6 stats and having this AC and having this, all these things are important or critical to a game, and I say they're not. I don't think they are. No, but I do know that that's what we're used to. There are alternatives, obviously. I mean, look at Free League's system. It's very simplified. Now they have their own quirks, but I mean, it's very simplified. It's a very simple system to use, and effective. You just so I just don't think that it's absolutely necessary to have those. That much detail going into these things. And here's the thing behind this too. Simplification of the system and the mechanics is a good thing for more than one reason. And the other reason is the more detail you put into those items, the more detail you have to put into them. Because the more specific you are about these things, like completely trying to explain what is charisma. Well, charisma can be so many different things. It can be how you look. It can be your how compassionate you are, how your ability to communicate with other people. Maybe it's just body language. Maybe you communicate that way. So the more specific you try to be, the more detail you have to put into it. So I don't think that's necessary. I just don't. I think people can use their imagination, get a basic general idea of, okay, what does this stat mean and how does it impact things? That's it. And then use your imagination for the rest. Create the character that you want to create.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely gives your characters more, or rather, you as a player, more agency and kind of more room to work and create your character. Because I know with D&D, especially because of the definitely the classes piece and how whenever you take another class, you kind of get a lot of features from them, that you may not really want, but you get them anyway. Here, kind of it allows you to really fine tune and really essentially custom create a class. Now, granted, there's still classes. Granted, you will still be a paladin or a fighter or a rogue or whatever. You'll still be that class, but flavor wise, you can really retool that to whatever it is you want. But not just flavor. Now, mechanically speaking, you can do the same.
I do feel a little bit rude here, Rob, because I asked that as a question and it never gave Matt a chance to answer. So
I guess I guess my concern, and again, this is one of the things that just kind of see it play out to see how it looks, is that if you can use anything, it feels like there may be a little less uniqueness in each stat or class. I guess because any class can use any stat. Mm-hmm. It feels a little like things may be a little
gray,
homogenized. Maybe again, I maybe this is an unwarranted concern, and it works out great when it comes out because it's an interesting idea, and if it works great, then then it works great. I just hope that they don't lose something by making these things so, I guess, accessible to everyone, that they lose their kind of what makes them each special.
Obviously there's probably a spot where there's a limit to what you should do, for sure. I just the simplification piece to it is really, from my standpoint, that would be the aim, is to simplify the system as much as possible, so that not like, and I'm not saying dumb it down, but make it so that the mechanics don't get in the way as much. And that's, I think, one of the issues that you run into with the like classic D&D is that the mechanics become an obstacle, and you spend, look at how much time you spend just trying to figure out, well, I need this number and this number, and I roll this dice, and then got this and these modifiers over here, and I mean, okay, are you actually having fun at that point? Are you telling a story at that point? Because you're buried in these mechanics, And I think about the other people at the table playing with you. If every person has to take 15 minutes to do to actually figure out their turn, and half of that's just, well, how many dice do I roll and how many things? Yeah, THACO, exactly. How boring does that get if you're the sixth guy in the turn order and you've just sat here for an hour and 15 minutes waiting for everybody else to do their thing, and knowing that you're going to take your turn and then sit here for another hour and 15 minutes. You know what I mean? You get to go. You have a 4-hour session. You actually get to do 3 things in that 4 hours. It's like,
well, see, and that's why I like the action point system from the combat. That's why I'm a huge fan of it, because it allows you to, again, not just sit there. You can react. You can be proactive. You can be reactive to what's happening. And while, so in answer to y'all's questions and comments about the system, Matt, I do agree, and I think a lot of people at this point kind of have pointed it out. Where, so basically in DC20, it's called your prime stat, I believe, and because any stat can be used as your prime stat for whatever class, people ask questions. Well, it kind of makes everything a little bit gray. However, stats are still going to be used for other things like skill checks and other aspects of the system. But the prime stat is, I think, what it is going to be used for your attack, and I believe your defense. I can't remember if they have a AC in this one. But it's also going to be, I believe, used for skills pertaining to your class. Well, that actually got Unholy Pawn. They actually brought up in some of the review videos I was watching for folks who were reviewing the rule set for DC20. They actually.
They have a little different initiative system. They still have an initiative system, but it's not a traditional system. Put it that way.
It's not. Greg, if you want to go into that in a second, what I meant to say, because I just kind of lost my train of thought for a second, they've actually expanded the time of the turn time, or rather the round time. So they basically doubled it from 6 seconds to 12 seconds. And basically kind of halved a lot of the things that you see in D&D, which I like, because it gives you a bit more time to essentially do more, especially if you have 4 actions. You can do about 3 or 4 things in about 12 seconds, depending on what you're doing, obviously. And it gives, for me, it gives kind of more meat to combat, as opposed to the initiative thing. Greg, I don't know. Did you have more to add to that?
Well, not on the DC20 system itself. I've only watched the reviews, so I haven't actually used it.
Same.
But so I'm not exactly sure what it is. But I will say this, and here's objectively, this is what I like to see in an initiative-based system. Is you do have to have some form of structured control there. And that's just to make sure that you don't have people that completely dominate the story. Ideally, you don't have to use the structured control. You get a good group of players that kind of get into a groove together, and they just want to tell a story together. And then you don't have to worry about it. But it's always good to have that mechanic there just in case, so that you have a way of keeping things in line and keeping the story moving forward, and making sure that everybody's engaged and not just the dominant players. So that I think is an important piece. But I really think that allowing the initiative piece to move from character to character based upon what is going on in the story at that time is the way to go. And that's more of an intuitive approach. And I think that's similar to what DC20 is aiming for. It's definitely, you know, my ideal, and is going to be aiming right at that, because that's what I really want to see, is a system where you can let the story kind of tell who goes when in that sense. Then it's up to the GM or DM or whatever you want to call them to make sure that all the players are getting some sense of fulfillment. I mean, you can't have that person out there who, yeah, fluidity, absolutely. You can't have that person who's just sitting at the table and never, you know, they're just a spectator player. You know what I mean? Their character never gets to do anything.
They're not doing anything. Yeah.
You as the leader of the game or the narrator of the game, you've got to engage those people, and you got to create scenarios to engage those people. Perfect, absolutely. Net runners. And no, don't F the net runner. Jeez, come on now. Although I you know, the net runner in Cyberpunk definitely okay. So I gotta say this: mission kit, net runners, like net runners, mission kit. But
quick hacks, baby.
The what's that?
Yep.
Yeah, quick hacks.
Yes, we did do a. Let's just say we have content for that's going to be coming out soon.
Eventually, hopefully. Yeah.
Well,
here's you know what? Full disclosure, we rolled out a little bit more than we probably should have in our content. Yeah. So we decided to hold that video until full release, right? Yeah, it's just, you know, hey, we love the system. So, but yeah, that's a perfect example with the Netrunners, and you know, you have to create content for those folks. As the narrator, you have a responsibility to engage all your players, not just the players that are the most enthusiastic. If the person comes to the table and sits down, your responsibility is to engage them, all of them.
Yep.
You know, don't. I absolutely do not like. I don't want to say don't like, but it's very disappointing to see someone who is, you know, thinks they're a really good GM, but then they have players that they just let sit there and they don't even try to engage them. Their whole approach to it is, well, if you want to play, then you need to speak up. No, that's what you're here for. That's your job. You're the narrator. You're the one who needs to make sure.
Granted, I do think players need to meet the GM halfway, at least in part.
Yeah,
because
I think
if you do great content for players and you try to include everybody, but you have those naturally hesitant, you know, players, or
you're good, man.
It could be that the player is not naturally hesitant, but they're playing a character that is, and kind of standoffish. Again, I think it's a give and take, but I agree with you, Greg. Like, you, first of all, yes, you are the GM, you are the narrator. Mm-hmm. You make sure that you're hitting all your players. Now, if the player doesn't bite, or the character doesn't bite, you know, decides, hey, I'm not gonna, you know, do that thing that's expected, then okay. But
yeah,
make sure you put the line out there.
See,
I don't think the DM shouldn't force them to engage, but rather provide the opportunities.
Yeah.
I do want to address something really quickly. Unholy Pawn, don't worry. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Derail.
This is a conversation.
We'll derail ourselves.
This is why we do a 2-hour long talk show that sometimes runs over, rather than doing like a 15-minute short where you know, we're just concentrating on focused information and we're just going to give you this unload of detail, which we're probably going to do some of those, but this whole show is really about just the conversation. Let's just talk. We're just talking about this stuff. We have these topics that we want to talk about, and to be honest with you, we could probably unload everything we know in about 30 minutes and be done. So
that would not be fun for anybody.
Right. It's really about the conversation and sharing it with the audience. And you guys, you know, if you got questions, thoughts, comments, whatever, man, share it, put it out there, because we're
chat.
Right.
Nope.
See, we just kick people out when we no.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We just give them the boot if we don't want them here.
He lost his connection. He'll be back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important to us to go ahead and get engaged. I mean, We want you to. We want you to be engaged.
So one of the other rules focused on combat is high rolls. High rolls actually matter in DC20, which I like. And what I mean by that, and this is another piece that I believe they got from Pathfinder, where you have degrees of success, meaning typically for every 5 you beat, let's say, an enemy's AC, you do you get a bonus. And in the case of combat, I believe it's increased attack. Every 5 you get, I believe, an additional point of attack added to. So another thing that's different is there is a static attack number, meaning damage number, not attack number. Static damage number, meaning each weapon, I believe, will do a set amount of damage, and then you can increase that via skills or degrees of success, meaning rolling 5 for every 5 above whatever the DC you had hit, you do an extra point of damage. That means a couple things. First of all, the damage die, you're not going to get 400 freaking points of damage in one shot. But that also means the health pools of both the enemies and the characters are going to be a lot lower in DC20. So yeah, start with 10 system. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Vampire the Masquerade, which St. George, we are actually in the process of getting the creator of Vampire the Masquerade onto our show as a guest speaker. So if you're new to the update log, every month we try to get someone on the show to come and talk. This month we're still trying. Sometimes it's hard to pin people down because everyone's busy. But in the case of the creator of VTM, I know at the time I've been speaking with some of his people. He was in the process of taking care of some personal stuff, so he kind of took a hiatus from doing some stuff. But he's definitely on our list to get on the show.
Yeah, we're not a big channel, so we have to talk really nice.
Exactly, that'd be nice. We can't be assholes yet.
And what edition? I don't want to be.
Yeah, I don't ever want to be. What do you mean? What edition? I'm talking about the creator of Vampire the Masquerade, like the guy who created it back in '96. I think Mark Harkin. I can't even remember his freaking name. I'm terrible. I've only looked the guy up like 15 freaking different times. But yeah, we're getting the original creator of VTM on the show at some point in the future.
Well, and I mean, since we're going there, we're also going to be having some repeat guests that are coming on.
Yes.
Thomas Terrenstem, Matthias.
Matthias. We're also Luke, if you're listening, we're looking to get you back on to talk about some of your Pyroborg stuff. He's got some new stuff coming out. I believe there's a Kickstarter out now.
Yes.
I want to say either it's still going on or it might have just finished. I know it's been out for a little bit. Yes, Mark Ryan Hagen. Yes, there we go. Thank you, Unholy Pawn. Who else? There's a couple of other big names that we have in the works. I don't want to drop anything now, but once we get those dates and stuff solidified, we'll be putting out some hits.
Yeah, we try to make sure that the people that we're getting on the show are industry insiders, people who are part of that creative process, that are actually either have written games, created games, written content for games, in both video games and in TTRPGs. Obviously, our focus is as a company, our focus is TTRPGs, but I think a lot of times our heart and soul is kind of captured by the video game industry because we, at least these two, are gamers.
Greg, you're still a gamer. You're also an adult. Not to say that myself and Matt aren't adults, but I don't know. You're more adults.
The sad part is that I had to grow up and now you guys don't. I don't know. Is that what you're saying?
No, we definitely have to grow up. We're still growing. Look, Matt's growing as we speak.
I'm just a little boy.
Yeah, I mean that Kirby says.
Wow.
Just put it that way.
Don't you talk shit about my Kirby. All right, he'll fuck you up. All right.
I mean, you're not wrong.
He is kind of
but
scary. I mean,
yeah, he's weird looking. Especially
He's
with
a
that face.
cosmic god killer. Okay, don't fuck with Kirby.
He really is. He just eats things. That's what he does. You can't beat someone that will just eat you. Let's just put it that way. But back on track. So yeah, DC20 as a whole is coming out. First of all, it's coming out strong. It's coming out really strong. We just went over a very small fraction of that iceberg, and I gotta say, I'm all kinds of excited to see what comes down the pipe. So you can let me see. You can
just tastes super bad.
Tastes bad. Yeah, it's just true. You can just just not shower for like a month and then let him eat you. I'll never try that again.
little tummy ache.
Yeah, a little tummy ache there. But so I mean the dungeon coach DC20 and his that's his bit. Definitely go show him some support at his Kickstarter. Again, we've dropped it in the chat and in our Discord. If you're not part of our Discord, join. It's how you can kind of keep up to date with us and engage with the people that have joined our Discord. We do have some folks from the industry as part of our Discord that are still there.
Do it now.
Yeah, do it now. Do it before you forget. Kirby, we just about anything rock, spiky creatures, fire. This is true. He will. He don't care.
I don't think anything's gonna stop him.
No, he'll eat it just to test it out. But
exactly.
One of the other things that I wanted to talk about before we kind of close out here is so first of all, Shadow of the Erdtree is coming out in the next couple days.
The Elden Ring DLC.
Yep, Elden Ring DLC from the From Software studio, which if you have never played any of the games, I highly recommend it. They are a AAA studio that has done right by both their employees and the consumers of their content. In that, what I mean by that is, so I mean we're only halfway, about a little bit more than halfway over with 2024, right? But in the last 6 months and say 2 or 3 weeks, we've seen almost 10,000 or more layoffs within the industry, in the video game industry, TTRPG space, like across the board. People have been getting let go. And there are a few studios who have focused on not letting folks go. From Software is one of them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the owner has been cited as saying he's not planning on firing anybody if he can help it. And so far, I don't think anybody go.
That is Hidetaka Miyazaki is his name, and he straight up said, "As long as I'm running this company, I'm not letting people go like that."
Yeah,
which massive respect to them
for other reasons. And I agree, Matt. Respect to him, because he understands that if you want to make good quality games, first of all, put in the work. Secondly, make sure you're looking after your people. I'm not saying nobody's been let go from Software, but with regards to the layoffs because of the shakeups that have been happening in this industry, pretty sure that hasn't happened at From Software. But the reason why I mentioned them is because they've put out again the Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree. It's coming out the 21st of this month, official release for PC and I think console as well, right, Matt? For both, or just PC?
I know at the very least console. I'm not sure. Maybe the same day. I don't know. But I mean, it's been one of the It's been one of the things that's been highly anticipated throughout this entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And, just recently the media embargo has been lifted. So people who had gotten early reviews are now able to post their gameplay, their reviews and all this. And so far the reception has been absolutely stunning. I believe on Metacritic it's got a 95%, which is
the highest of any. I want to say any game but I think any DLC.
I don't know about the people I've heard talk about haven't said any game, but they've said of any expansion or DLC.
Yeah, which is $95.
And yeah, it's a little pricey. It's $40, but from everything I can gather, it's like trying to look up like how many hours of gameplay can be expected of this thing. And
so I
a lot of different like sources are putting different numbers, but I'm getting roughly like 25 if you're going really fast speed run that shit, or like if you're all on the slower side, maybe like 50 hours. So like 25 to 50 hours for $40 is, I think that's fairly good, especially if you compare that to Starfield's $7 Quest, just one, which from what I've gathered on that did not take very long to complete. So some comparison here. I think FromSoft are really putting a lot of value in that DLC there.
Yeah, and it's From Software, so that shit's good.
Like, oh yeah, no,
it's good.
They've always done really good DLCs. All the way back in their Dark Souls games, and now to Elden Ring. Like every DLC I've played in one of the Dark Souls games has been like, it's been really fun, great design as always. They always up the ante. So like, there's a lot of extra challenge, which I've heard Shadow of the Erdtree is definitely very challenging. Which at this point, people have gotten used to Elden Ring, playing that game. So it's like, all right, you guys, you're getting a little too comfortable here. Let's kick this up a notch.
Yeah, and they did. Like, from everything from what I've heard, they really kicked that up a couple of notches in terms of difficulty. Like, they did not hold back. And again, going back to what you were saying about the hours, the potential hours of playtime. Again, that's a $40 $40 DLC. Which, I mean, you can see it as pricey. I honestly see that as Unholy Pawn said, that's a steal.
Like, for what you're getting, definitely.
Yeah, that's 20 at the very least, and most people aren't going to speedrun shit. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Most people aren't going to speedrun anything. So you're getting, dozens of hours of playtime, and not just playtime, but replayability. So I mean, that's just one playthrough. We all know nobody does one playthrough. So you're getting solid amounts of hours for $40, which is, from what I've been hearing, Shadow of the Erdtree has so far. Folks have again put in some time. They're like, I've already put in 20 hours, and I feel like I'm only 2/5 of the way there. Like, I'm not really that far in. So that's honestly, that's amazing that they've packed all that into a $40 price point, which leads me to say this. So what are the rest of the AAA industry doing, huh? What were you giving us piss poor fucking content for $60 or $70?
They're making quadruple A games now. So
no, the fuck they're not. Eve's, dude, you need to just retire. If that's what's gonna come out of your mouth, fucking retire, man.
So this is what I've heard someone say. I can't remember who said this, but they've got From Software is releasing a game disguised as a DLC. Shadow of the Erdtree, just saying that it has that much content in it. Meanwhile, you got Activision Blizzard releasing a DLC disguised as an actual game. Modern Warfare 3
for twice the price.
Which was initially supposed to be a DLC that they decided to sell as a game.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fucking. It's but honestly, you know what? I'm gonna be a little harsh. It's fucking pathetic. It's pathetic that you got this studio here who's a AAA studio who's got all the fucking concerns and problems of a AAA studio. They have large teams, I'm sure, but here's the difference. They fucking listen. They know what their players want. They listen to what their players want. They put that shit out there. And they don't invent inflationary shit in their games to sell you some fucking problem.
Poor Microsoft needs to make some of their money back.
Yes.
I will throw in there. FromSoft is not a publicly traded company, so that might affect things and how they make their decisions.
Well, here's the thing. Honestly, it's looking like it pays not to be publicly fucking traded if you're going into the industry. To a degree, again, I'm sure there's nuance that goes into all that, but honestly, what the fuck is the point of being publicly traded if you're going to turn into...
Well, because the point was to get in and make a lot of money doing something that you hopefully really love. Maybe you don't, but get in and make a lot of money. That was the point. And that's why most of these companies, especially your bigger companies, become publicly traded companies, because they can launch an IPO and make billions, like Facebook or whatever. Yeah. And that was
sit back and read
exactly. They never have to work again. They could stay on as a front man, and they never have to produce another thing for the rest of their lives. Or they can just walk away from it.
Yeah. Where I get the reason why things happen the way they do, but I'm finding that a lot of the companies a lot of the game development companies I come to admire and just that they put out really good stuff, I've kind of turned out to be privately traded companies that don't have that. I guess they don't have as many. They don't have as much to answer to as publicly traded companies do, and that it seems to give them a level of freedom that allows them to just make a really good fucking game and do right by their customers and employees and all that.
Yeah, or rather, and here's the thing, or they do, what Larian Studio does. I mean, Larian Studios is private, it's privately owned. I'm pretty sure, 99% sure, but they do have investors. But again, I believe Sven Vink, him, and the other co-owners of Larian own majority share. I mean, there's a number of ways you can do it. I guess the point I'm trying to make is this AAA studio has done this. And here's the thing. This is not the first time. They've continued to provide value at a good price point for their people and make games that their players want to play. That gives... what's the rest of y'all's excuse? Because you can still make your billions while still giving the players what the fuck they want. You can make your billions. As a matter of fact, I'd argue you'd probably make more money if you did that.
But it's so much easier to...
So much easier to be a shitbag.
pretty much.
And again, I'm not trying to just really browbeat them. It's frustrating when you see examples, when you see Larian Studios, when you see From Software. And here's the thing, actually, on Holy Pond, you bring up a good point. Destiny just dropped the final shape, which I'm not gonna lie, Bungie for the longest time was not hitting for me. They were ass. Bungie for the last couple of years were fucking ass. But yes, I will give them final shape as, from everything I've heard, stellar expansion. So somebody at Bungie got their head out of their ass and decided to put out something good. Yeah, I haven't played it yet. I don't know if I'm going to play it because I used to be a huge Destiny fan, but we'll see.
I mean, Bungie needed that W because I know, we talked about in the past on the podcast where leadership at Sony was not very happy with Bungie.
They were on the chopping block.
So that they, a successful expansion is exactly what they needed to get back on track.
Yeah, they were on the chopping block.
Good for them.
Right.
But I'm excited to see what is in Shadow of the Erdtree when it officially releases. I'm trying to avoid too many spoilers. I have to wonder, how many poison swamps did Miyazaki put in there? Because that man is notorious for his love of poison swamps.
He's about that swamp.
There's at least one in every game, and in interviews and stuff like this, he has fully admitted that he just loves poison swamps. He'll be trying to design an area, then before he knows it, there's a poison swamp in there. He's a sick, twisted man for it, but he's upfront about it.
I mean, look, you like what you like. His thing is poison swamps.
I guarantee you, there's at least one in there. I wouldn't be surprised if there's even two.
Plot twist. You know what? He didn't have any creative input on the locale, just so there's no poison swamps. Plot twist.
I don't believe that.
Exit out.
Not 1 second. I am 100% sure there is at least one poison swamp in Shadow of the Erdtree.
Greg, what's up, man? You were gonna say something?
No, I just have one one take on this, and really little bit different, not from the creative side of it, but what Dark Pond is talking about with the Destiny game at $50, and your son ran through it in 8 hours. It's pretty quick, but it goes to show two things. One is the value in the game that we're talking about. With 20 hours plus, maybe even like 40 hours of gameplay for $40. But think about it this way: where and doing what are you going to have 8 hours of good entertainment for $50?
That's true. I mean, there's a couple things you could be doing, and no, get your heads out of the gutter. You know, to
enjoy there, but okay.
To enjoy yourself. You can go to theme parks.
I think he was the only one going there, so he's sort of talking to himself.
Maybe that says something about me.
No, I think you're projecting a little bit there, buddy.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's a me problem. But yeah, Unholy Pond, you're right. Like realistically, nowhere. You can't go anywhere for $50 and get 8 hours of enjoyment. You know, there are a couple places. You can't take your family to McDonald's for the
right.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Expensive these
days.
You're
not wrong. Fast food is fucking expensive. I mean, so.
Thought the whole point was that it was fast and cheap. Not anymore.
Not no more. It's slow and expensive.
It's a luxury item now.
That's a luxury item now. Shit.
Yeah, seriously. But anyway, that's a whole other thing right there.
Yeah. But I mean, realistically, you can't. Like these studios really need to take a page out of Larian's book, out of From Software. There's a number of studios out there doing it right, where they're providing value for a good price point. And yes, we've talked about this ad nauseum before, but here's another fucking example of people that. So it's not impossible. It's not hard to do, because I can guarantee you, From Software does not have anywhere near the size of development teams, multiple teams, that Blizzard Activision does, that Bethesda, like nowhere fucking near. So if this smaller studio can do it, then you have no excuse. That's kind of my point. I'm gonna shut up after that.
So it makes me wonder about how efficient these massive studios are, because when we have such a huge structure. I feel like there are a lot of when passing down instructions from the top, a lot of things may get lost in translation, like a game of telephone.
Yeah.
That. I feel like there's a lot of I guess bureaucracy and communication errors when it gets that big. Too many chefs in the kitchen, as the Holy Pond says. So it makes me wonder, is it better to have that huge a workforce on a single game, or is there there's no hard line of what is too much and what isn't, of course, but maybe teams of Larian's or FromSoft size might actually be better suited to creating just good quality games that have a very concise vision.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to say without having led projects in either way or been part of those projects in either way, but it's one of these things that we're noticing where these smaller companies that do have access to resources, obviously Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring have fairly high budgets, but they aren't super ultra massive, and they're able to put out some of the best shit we've seen in years.
$2 billion.
$2 billion.
I'm so interested in GTA 6 when that comes out.
Yo, for real.
I'm so curious.
I want to see where the $2 billion goes. I need to see it. because that's
Right in my
fucking
pocket.
wild. Yeah, that's essentially where the fucking $2 billion are going to somebody's pocket. But
advertising is going to go crazy when that comes closer.
Oh, they're gonna go wild.
Like you're not going to be able to avoid GTA 6 advertising when it comes time.
But
it's gonna be like Christmas music when like Christmas ads, you know.
Yep. But I mean, we did have Twain Martin on, and for those of you who don't know who he is, he's one of the OG developers on
Wow!
World of Warcraft. Yeah, World of Warcraft. Wow, before it ever came out. And he's done a lot of work since then. He is, I believe, still part of our Discord actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still in our Discord, and he is actually leading his own studio now called Upheaval AI. So he's working with generative AI to produce even more great content for us. We actually had a chance to sit down with him, kind of before that episode aired, to kind of talk about his process, and we even got to do a little bit of stuff with that. Matt did, as a matter of fact, but that's our special treat. We're gonna keep that to ourselves. But even he's talked about the fact that a lot of studios now are too big, and from someone with his level of experience, and someone with his knowledge, his industry knowledge, I'm inclined to believe him. I believe a lot of these studios just have too many, as you said, Unholy Pawn, too many chefs in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. Like it stands to reason that you can probably break down these teams, and get more mileage, out of them. Put some other folks on another project, or or I don't know. There's definitely a better way to go about it. Definitely a better way to go about it. But they're not doing it for whatever reason. Anyway, I don't want to leave on a sour note. Again, Shadow of the Erd Tree, as for all intents and purposes, and from all the reviews so far, are absolutely amazing. Absolutely worth the $40. Let's see. Well, I would probably argue the biggest game I recall was made by one guy originally, and I joined his beta for a lifetime membership to Minecraft. Yeah, absolutely,
Minecraft.
man. Notch, yeah, absolutely. He sold that game for what, a couple billion, I think.
I don't remember the exact number, but I know he
never has sold another game in his life.
Yeah, pretty much. He
bought himself an island somewhere.
I don't think so. I don't think he has.
He got his due.
But he does. Like, I actually watched a kind of a video, and I think he was in it. It was about him, but I think he kind of he was in the video, and he said, like, he has this big old house now. I don't think he's happier. I think he's like, man, this house is too big.
I would buy an island just so people thought I was there.
I mean, put a sign on your door, like, gone to the island, even though you're actually still home. It's like, I just don't want people to bother me.
Right? Yeah. Oh, big brain right there. It's like I'm
buying an island just so you can trick people to thinking you're not home. There may be more efficient ways of getting that done, but points for originality.
Maybe, but I mean, come on, if you have an island, I mean, people are just going to automatically assume that, well, he's hiding on his island.
Yeah,
I just rented out as a pet.
I mean, but come on, Matt, the flex though. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to my island real quick. Shit, if I had the money, I'd definitely buy an island, and then probably turn it into.
I don't know what I'd do with a fucking island.
I'd turn it into a bread and breakfast or something. And then when
I'd go fishing.
I'd just buy myself a comfortable.
If I had an island.
I'd go fishing.
I don't know what I'd do with all that money. That notch money. Minecraft money.
That Minecraft money, baby. Hey, what do you mean? You don't know what you better figure it out, because we're gonna be making that money. So, figure it out, buddy.
I'll buy like.
You'll buy a really big Kirby is what you're gonna do.
I'll buy like another monitor. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll buy another monitor.
That's good. That's good plan. That's good plan, man.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, you got to work in the little sets before you get the big sets.
Invest in Bitcoin? No.
Invest in Bitcoin.
Maybe.
I'm going all in, baby.
Oh, Here's the thing, though. As much as we rag on folks that invested in Bitcoin, some of the early adopters, they definitely did rake it. Fucking
Well, there's people that are making money in it right now, and that's I don't even want to.
That topic for a different night.
Right.
But again,
we talked about crypto plenty before.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, guys. I mean, the TTRPG space is looking great right now. DC20 is coming out. MCDM is on the way out. Daggerheart is looking to be another good addition to the options out there. And it looks like WotC has finally pulled their head out of their ass. And it looks like the 2024 course rule set is looking to be good. I mean, we've only seen the elements of the player's handbook so far, but if they continue with this, we might see it might be good. It might be some good eating for us in the future. So keep your ears to the ground, and again, join us on our Discord, where we'll be posting updates and stuff like that. We're gonna be keeping an eye on DC20 over the next couple of weeks here as they move through the latter half of the Kickstarter, and we're probably going to be talking about them next episode as well and some other interesting stuff. But that is officially the end of episode 57 of the Update Log. Greg.
Officially the end. Fantastic. I don't have anything for this week. We're not going to do a game stream tomorrow night.
Okay.
We're getting ready for some things coming up in the very near future.
Yes.
Hey, you bet. So we are going to be introducing. Well, we're going to be introducing a new game. We're going to be introducing some new cast members. We're going to be doing some interesting things. And we want to change up the story a little bit. So just a FYI for folks, we are going to bring the BOR story, which is our existing cyberpunk story. That is going to be coming to a close. So we're going to be closing that story out. We might be starting a new story in the same universe, but we are definitely going to be running some other game systems. In part because we have some responsibilities to some of the folks that have worked with us, like Free League Press, who's been fantastic for us. And we want to make sure that we live up to those commitments. So not this week. Next week we will be probably running the BOR as we begin to wind that one down. And then the following Thursday, we'll probably do book 4 of the Wheel of Time, and start rolling with that. If you have not checked out our other media platforms, so we are looking at starting to do some shorts on YouTube and probably on TikTok as well. So definitely follow us in those places. So you're not, it's something that's more easily consumable rather than a 2 or 4 hour long episode on Twitch. You'll get a 10 or 15 minute update on what's going on in the industry and some specific topics that we would like to just talk about. That's all I got, man. Okay. And well, sorry, here I go. I'm probably going to be in Green Bay in the very near future. Friend of mine and I are going to be paying a visit to a game store in Green Bay. So, more details to come.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. I think though, Greg, unless you have something else, we're good to go.
Try the veal. Join us next Wednesday for episode 58, the update log, and whatever comes in between.
Yep. All right.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. We will see you next Wednesday.